everyone, welcome to our succulent earring tutorial. Today you're going to be making 6 pairs of these beautiful succulent earrings. So in your kits you should have your toothpick, super glue, all of your little goodies to do your creating, as well as your polymer clay and template mat. And you should grab yourself a wipe or a chucks or something to clean your hands in between. So starting off, we're going to be doing our plain little cacti. I find that they're the easiest ones to do, so it's good to start off simple. So having a look at your clay, we've got our sections for our succulents, our cacti earrings, our cacti in a pot, and also our monstera earrings. Alright, starting off with our cacti. This is pretty simple. It's just a matter of rolling up 2 little balls of a similar size to your template mat. So it's a bit big. I'm just going to reduce it down a little bit. Yeah, that's an awesome size. So I'm doing that size again. Beautiful. Now what I'm going to be doing, if you see with my needle, so I'm going to be creating cross sections for our cacti. So it's, imagine sort of 8 slices of a pizza. We're going to be doing that same thing with our needle. So I've done our quarters. We're now going to be cutting it up into our 8ths. Awesome. And we're going to be doing that for our other one. After you've done those sections, you just want to smush it down slightly to ensure it has a nice flat bottom to stick onto your earrings. Now moving on, we're going to be doing the exact same thing, but this time it's going to have a lovely little flower on top, so it's a flowering cacti. So again, rolling up our 2 little balls. Flashing them down slightly. And then we're going to go through and do our cross sections again, like slicing up a pizza or a pie. So moving on, we're going to be doing our little flowers for the tops of our cacti. So this is just a matter of going through and rolling up 5 little balls for each of your flowers. So 10 all up, good maths. So you're going to be doing the 5 flower petals for each, and then you're going to be doing 1 tiny little yellow spot for the center. And then you can see here, we just go through and pop them around that center point, creating that flower shape. Alright, so started out simple, moving on to something a little bit more advanced, but still pretty easy. So this is our cacti in a pot. So for this, you're going to be doing the side view of a cacti, and you're also going to be making a terracotta coloured pot. My goodness, that was a mouthful. So starting off with your center part of your cacti, you can see here we've rolled it out and we've just flattened it to create this slight light bulb shape. And then you're going to be doing the same thing but in a smaller scale to do your 2 little cacti arms. You do a little bit of a pinching motion so they've got that little point and a nice curved end. Awesome, it's looking pretty good. Although I am going to reduce the size of our little cacti arms. I think they're just a bit too fat for my liking. There we go. And now we'll do the same thing for our other earring. So pinching it, flattening it out. I think the most important thing to watch for with these earrings is just that you don't make them too big, I guess. You don't want them being uncomfortable in your ears, so you try and make them not too much bigger than the size that's on the template mat. Cacti are done. Now it's time to mix up our colours to create our terracotta pot. So you really only want to do a little bit of orange to your tan clay ratio. You don't want it turning out too orange in colour. Mixing it all up. And now we're progressing to do the pot part of our earrings. So you can see here we're rolling up some little balls. I think this part is for our base, and now we're going to be rolling a long skinny snake, and this will be for the upper lip of our pot. So I'm going to smush my ball, create a slightly triangular trapezium type shape. Imitate that terracotta pot. And you're doing the same thing for your other before trimming off your little long snakes. And popping it all together, like so. And what you want to do with those edges is just tuck them in behind your terracotta pot, so it gives it that illusion of roundness and depth. Awesome. So now we're going to go through and do our little details. So similar thing to what we did to begin with. You're going to go through and create little indentations and lines for your cacti details. So I do 3 slightly curved ones on the main section, and I do 2 smaller ones for each of the arms. While we're still on the dark green, we will do our Monstera earrings next. So I actually find these ones rather tricky. Obviously the succulent earrings can can be rather tricky too, so hence the reason we're leaving it last. And you can see here, it's just a matter of rolling up and figuring out the correct ratio you are wanting to get a nice leaf effect that you're after. So you can see I've squished it down and I'm trying to pinch it to create a similar shape that's on your tablet mats. And then using a toothpick, you're going to create a little indentation to make it look similar to a heart. You can see that little leaf divot at the top there. And then once you've got those divots, you're going to go through and create your leaf details. So doing the main veins, the main one down the middle, on a curved motion, and then after that you're going to go through and do each of your little side veins. So you do 3 on each side. Just like that. Now that your main details are done, it's time to go through and do your little leaf cutouts. So you can see with each of my little side veins, I've created a little divot in between each of one of those. So it creates a nice even patterned effect. And I'll do the same on this side. Now it does take quite a few sort of cut throughs to get it nice and clean. You can see I have to rub off some of that excess clay on my other fingers. So you do that, and then you also do a little bit of smoothing. Make sure there's no rough bits of clay. Oop. And then again, do 3 little slits, and you can see from I go from the biggest section of the biggest part of the leaf to the smallest part. My divots start bigger, and then they end up being just tiny little slits down the bottom. Now finally, I've popped it on the template mat just so you can get a nice clean finish. You can see I'm scooping out those little spaces, and I'm using the needle to create a nice defined outline for your leaf. It's not too messy. Now I'm just doing some final primping, making sure all the edges are nice and smooth and all of those details are nice and defined before moving on to our succulent earrings. So you can see here we've got our green and our blue. We're going to start off by mixing up all our colours. So we'll start with mixing the green. Now for this we're going to be doing about even ratio. So you can see how I've got about even amount part green than I do white. And we'll just mix it through and see what colour we come out with. Still not quite light enough for my liking, so we're going to add a bit more white, mix it through, and see what happens. looking good enough for me. Nice and green. Now it's time to move on to the blue. So you can see here the blue is actually quite light already, so you don't need to add quite as much white to the blue as you did with the green. So I did about 50-50 ratio again of each of the colours, mixing it through to create a nice light blue. Awesome. They look good to me. Now it's time to start making the suckies. So you can see here you've got different sections we're going to be making. So starting off with rolling out 5 white balls, not white balls, green balls, then 3, then 2, then 2, moving down in size. So I'm just going to go through and make all of the different size balls for now, and then we'll chat back again once we've finished them all up. Happy rolling. So I've almost finished rolling out our green balls, and I forgot to mention that it's actually 10, 6, 4 and 4 of each of the balls, as we're going to be making double of everything for those 2 pairs of earrings. So you can see here we're now going to be creating our slight teardrop shapes, and that's going to help us make our petals for our succulents. So you can see I've squished it, and I'm doing a bit of a pinching motion to create a nice curved pointed tip. And it's pretty much just a matter of doing this for each of your little balls. It's quite a repetitive process, these suckies. You can see, nice and curved, and it's obviously got a bit of a flatter base than it does at the tip. You can see just here, you squish it and you pinch it at the ends to create a nice sort of triangle shape to our petals. Alright, happy pinching. Just a matter of doing the exact same thing for each of your teeny tiny little ones. You can see how small and tedious it can get. And then continuing on. So our succulent leaves are done. Now it's just a matter of going through and popping them all in place. So you can see here we've got our rough start. That's just a matter of using 5 of your larger leaves. You're placing them on kind of like a frangipani, so each of them overlap the next. And ensuring it's got a nice flat bottom. This is where you can use the end of your paintbrush, and what you want to do is just dab in that center spot so it creates a nice little divot for our next set of leaves to sit in. So the next set you're going to be putting 3, the next row, sorry. You can see here I've just popped it in ensuring that little pointy edge is outwards. You've got your 3 sitting perfectly like so. And finally, you're going to be grabbing your 2 tiny ones, followed by your next 2 up. It's a bit hard to see and make out in here, but it's just a matter of bunching them all up together in the center. It's a nice little rosette, just like that. Awesome. It's looking super cute. You just want to smush it together a little bit, make sure it's nice and compressed. And then you can move on and do your next. So I'll speed it up a little bit, but you'll be able to get a good idea after watching all of these as to how to assemble your succulent. Once your suckies are assembled, you want to ensure that they have nice flat bottoms, so there's a good surface area for the earrings to stick onto. With the green ones done, we're going to move on and do our blue. So the exact same process as before, rolling out 10 big balls, 6 of the smaller, 4, and then 4 of each of the smaller sizes. And then you're going to go through and assemble them just like we did with our green succulents. our clay work is done, it's now time to do all our little details. So for your little cacti earrings, what I like to do is use my toothpick to dab it in your white paint, and then you're simply doing 4 little spots on each of your cross sections of the cacti. Being really gentle. Sometimes it's best for this part in particular to move it down onto the laminate mat. You don't want to be touching your cacti after you've already put your white spots on it, of course. So you're going to be doing this exact same thing for all 4 of your cacti, leaving the ones that are in the terracotta pot nice and plain for now. And now we're going to be colouring our suckies. So for my green ones, I like to give them pretty little pink tips. So I get my pink chalk pastel and I like to dab it very gently on the edges of my succulent. You can see I pay particular attention to the very tips, making that pink really bright, and then blending it in more so with the rest of the leaf. Finally, it's time to do our purple touches on the blue sucky. So the purple's a bit of a stronger colour, you definitely want to use less than you did with the pink. Just dabbing it on, same motion, a bit more emphasis on the tips and blending it in with the rest of your leaves. And this really helps the definition and the depth of your succulent pop, makes it look a little bit more realistic, I suppose. And not to mention, it's just fun. Awesome, our earrings are ready to be baked. So I'm going to chuck them in the oven. Now my oven's a bit bodged, so I'm going to put it at 200, but we do recommend 180 degrees for cooking. And for now we're going to pop it at 5 minutes. They are small, so they don't take very long. Now generally they do start to smoke once they're cooked, but, oh, where did it go? These ones are just on the verge, so they are good to go and done. This is where it all comes together. So opening up your little brown paper bag, you should have your earring backings inside. Now these are stainless steel, so they're not going to turn your ears green. I can't stand when that happens. So you can see you've got your backings, and you're going to be using your super glue to attach them onto your polymer clay earrings. This is why it's important to ensure that they have nice flat bottoms to begin with. So opening up your super glue, this is gel super glue, so it'll make it nice and easy, it's not going to run everywhere. and it helps cover that surface area so the succulent earrings really stick. As you can see, just tiny little blobs. The glue might just keep squirting out as well, so it's best to just go through and put a few blobs down. And then you simply just pop your earrings on. Applying a good amount of pressure, making sure you're quick so the super glue doesn't dry before you get to pop it on. And that is our polymer clay succulent earring tutorial done skis. Well done everyone. I hope you made some lovely creations and you really enjoyed creating with us today. Oh yes, one last thing. Your earring backing. So I'm assuming you all probably know how to do it, but just in case, this is how you pop one on and you're good to go. Well done guys. See ya.